Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So 2024 is wrapping up, and actually, unless I missed something, all the sets are wrapped up as well. I think like spoilers for Innistrad Remastered are like kind of happening, but that's not even coming out until next year. So yeah, all the product is out there, and with that now, we know what the biggest cards from this year were in different ways, and also what the most expensive cards from this year were. Let's jump into it and talk about what they are and why. So first up, oh my goodness, Rev Tithe Extractor came in big recently. Just all of a sudden, you're like, okay, here's a new card. Oh, it's pretty cool. Oh my gosh, that price tag. What is happening? Finance people out there, help everyone out and let us know, why in the world is this one so expensive? My goodness. I mean, it's a really cool commander. Is like the jumpstart, supply maybe a bit lower than what maybe was expected, or it just is in general. That's what my guess is. It's got to be a supply thing, but still a very cool commander. A 3/3 human rogue for 4 mana in black. Whenever you attack, target creature gains death touch till have turn. Whenever one of our creatures you control deal combination to player, create a treasure token. Then look at the top card of that player's library and exile face down. You may cast card for as long as it remains exiled. I made a deck tech on this one a little while ago, and I'm pretty sure I got that decked around like $50 or $60 in total, and Rev I think at the time was like 42, 44. Now it's up to 68. It is going up in price. This is basically like Ragavan-ish, but for like all your creatures, but only once each turn, but unless you have like first strike or double strike. So have fun with that. A very cool concept. Check that deck out. Next up, also from Jumpstart. This one a mythic though, and less expensive than the rare Rev though. Ophelia, Viper Whisperer, a 1/3 Gorgon Assassin with Death Touch for 2 mana in black. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 1 in Golgari. If you do, create a 1/1 Black Snake creature token with Death Touch. Pay 5 mana in total until end of turn. Whenever one or more Gorgons and or snakes you control deal combat damage to a player, should say. That player loses half their life, rounded up. That's a lot. That's a lot of life to lose. Kind of like a Snake Gorgon tribal type deck if you want to go in that direction. Yeah, you can do some pretty fun things with this one, but yeah, fun on a very high budget. Again, $55. Again, it's got to be like a jumpstart, again, just like supply thing. It really has to. Let me know in the comments below. Here we go. Next up, I mean, I know this one's a supply thing. Storm Force of Nature. We'll go quickly through these because, yeah, the universes beyond, like, Secret Lair drop mechanically unique cards. Not the best thing, in my opinion, for Magic, but also they're going to be expensive, of course, because it's the only thing you can get them from, unless you, proxy them. Make sure you check out my Proxy Promise episodes on these, and sure, get one for free. Anyways, 3/4 Mutant Hero, Flying Vigilance for 4 mana in Teamer. Deals combination player the next instant source spell you cast this turn has Storm. Clever wizard, Storm has Storm. So yeah, this is one where it is a pretty broken commander. Like literally, you just need to hit once with this, and you probably win. You basically just like, okay, I give it double strike. I hit with it. I cast an extra turn spell or an extra combat spell. It is game over. I mean, even if you just don't even cast that like double strike card or don't give it double strike, it doesn't matter. It's probably just game over if you hit this once and then you cast the right card. You get extra turns, you get extra combats, you win. It's basically like a new Narset-ish. Next up, after a storm, we drop down to a much more reasonable, just kidding, $39.24 for Scythe Cat Cub, a 2/2 cat with trample for 2 mana in green. Whenever a land you control enters when a counter target creature control, this is the second time its ability to resolve this turn. Double the number of counters on that creature instead. Gross, disgusting, amazing for counters decks, of course, and landfall synergies in general. You're in green, you get lands in play. That's just what you do. You also crack Evolving Wilds too, but yeah, cat decks as well can utilize it. A good amount of different kinds of decks can utilize it. It's a very powerful card. And of course, again, Jumpstart. Who knew? Expensive. Next up, though, speaking of cats and not in Jumpstart, we got $37 for Ocelot Pride. And keep in mind that Moxfield actually does pull up the least expensive version of each card, which is what I'm showing off. But still, this apparently is it. And it's still $37. A 1/1 cat with first strike and lifelink with Ascend for a single white mana. Beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, create a 1/1 cat creature token. Then if you have the City's Blessing, for each token you get to control that to the battlefield this turn, create a token that's a copy of it. Double those up. Yeah, gross, disgusting, like second harvest, but on a 1/1 relevant creature with relevant keywords, and Ascend is super easy to get, of course. This is crazy powerful for token strategies, lifelink strategies as well, I guess, too. And yeah, I mean, cats, throw them all in there. A crazy good card. Next up, Captain America First Avenger, again, because of the reasons I mentioned for Storm. Expensive, mechanically unique, from a secret lair, okay? Proxy Promise, just print it. Anyways, I mean, print the Proxy Promise version of it. A 4/4 human soldier hero for 3 mana in Jeskai. Pay 3 unattached equipment from it. Deals damage to equipment's mana value as you choose build 1, 2, or 3 targets. Beginning of combat your turn, attach 1 for free. So yes, get equipment for free on it and chuck it at things. Moving on, Vault-Born Tyrant. This one... yeah, it's like the From the Vault or whatever it was, like the Outlaws of Thunder Junction weird thing that they were like, wait, okay, yeah, that the Aftermath set wasn't really all that good and people don't like it, so we're just gonna take those cards and put them in the main set, but they're kind of not in the main set, so I'm sure that's why the actual print run on this is probably a little lower, and yeah, it's a mythic, and it's expensive. A 6/6 dinosaur trample for 7 mana in green. Whenever another creature power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under control, you gain 3 life and draw a card. Top of that, when this dies, if it's not a token, create a token's copy of it, except it's an artifact just other types. I mean, even with a low print run potentially, yeah, it's an incredibly powerful card with a very relevant creature type. Dinosaurs is one of the most popular tribes out there for people to play, and this thing is disgustingly good in dinosaur decks, or just in power matters strategies in general. Hey, okay, yeah, you're getting 4 power creatures into play, gain life, draw cards, lovely. Also on top of that, if it's dealt with, you get another one. Gross. Moving on. Wolverine Investor is, again, exact same reasoning from Captain America and Storm, why it's expensive. $31. 2/2 Mutant Berserker Hero for 3 mana in Gruul. Double all damage it would deal. Give the end step if it dealt damage to the creature's turn, counter on it, and you can regenerate it for 2 mana. Yeah, a very aggressive type commander. Moving on. Bloodthirsty Conqueror. $30. Oh my goodness. Okay. And I kind of mentioned this on the episode when this one came out. I was like, we did not need another, I was going to say Sanguine Bond. That's not the one. This combos with Sanguine Bond. Exquisite Blood. There you go. We didn't need another one of those. People in the comments are like, I wanted another one of those. Thank you, Wizards. Yeah, this is a gross card. 5/5 Vampire Knight. Flying Death Touch. 5 mana in black. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. This combos with a ham sandwich. I already mentioned Sanguine Blood, or Sanguine Bond, but also all the other cards are like, hey, if you gain life, your opponents lose life. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Awesome. They lose the game. It's just infinite right there. Okay, cool. Yeah, this combos with so many things. Also, it is already just a 5/5 flyer with Death Touch, so that's already very good. Relevant creature type, especially with Vampire Knight, sure as well. But yeah, overall, very, very good. Very, very powerful. Moving on. Bristlet Bill. A 2/2 Plant Druid for 2 mana in green. $30 for this. Well, $29.33. Under $30. Landfall. Whenever land enters battlefield under control, put a counter on target creature, and by paying 5 mana in total, you double the number of counters on each creature you control. Counters is a very, very, very popular strategy, and this is a slam dunk in those decks, because they're like, oh, hey, do you want a way to double that up? Oh, sure, yeah, okay, that's just a one-off thing? No, it's on this creature, you can do it more than once. Oh, okay, once in a turn? No. Do you have 10 mana lying around? Well, yeah, I'm in a green deck. Okay, you can double it twice. Do you have 15? Yeah, I do. Okay, 3 times. This is gross. This is absolutely disgusting, especially in combination with certain creatures out there that maybe, tap, for an amount of mana equal to their power. So it's like, okay, cool, yeah, double it up and then double up your mana. And then, oh my goodness, things are crazy. It's a very powerful commander and card in the 99. Moving on, speaking of which, gross, Ulamog the Defiler. $27 for this one. I remember when this one was leaked, because it was first leaked before it was actually spoiled. It was like, okay, that can't be real. I mean, the image was very grainy, and it's like, that's not why it's not real. It's like that. If anything isn't real, it's probably this one, and then the Colossal Eldrazi Maw or whatever it was. This one is a 7/7 Eldrazi for 10 mana. When you cast it, target opponent exiles half their library rounded up. Ward sacrifice 2 permanents. Enters the battlefield for the number of counters on it equal to the greatest mana value among cards in exile. And if that was it, this would be like, yeah, okay, that's probably real. The reason why I was like, maybe that's not real is because it's got Annihilator X for X the number of counters on it. And it's like, Wizards, what are you doing? And they're like, haha, crazy things. Yeah. Annihilator, gosh, what did I play against? I think it was Annihilator 11, I think, came swinging, essentially, right? It just depends on what you hit, obviously. I'd say your typical range, typically for this, is going to be 5, 6, 7, most likely, is what you're going to hit off of it. That being said, you can still add to that, obviously, because it's any other kinds of counters on it. It's not just the ones that you get exiled, okay? So if you have other ways to get counters on it, cool. you do that, and all of a sudden you're doing for even more. But yeah, it's a one swing win for Eldrazi decks with this. It's just like, not a win, but I take that player out. So they're gone. They're completely. It doesn't matter if I hit them or not. I literally just take them out. So as a commander, as a card 99, a lot of attention is paid to it. Moving on, Simulacrum, if I could talk, Synthesizer, $26 again, the From the Vault kind of thing or whatever it was called. Artifact for 3 mana. I'm saying that wrong. From the Vault was something completely different, but you know, like the whatever the Thunder Junction thing was, right? Big Score, is that what it is? Big Score, I think it is. Okay, Artifact for 3 mana in blue, enters the battlefield, scry 2. Whenever the artifact with mana value 3 or greater enters the battlefield to control, create a 0/0 construct artifact creature token with. This creature gets +1 for each artifact you control. Very, very powerful. Very, very good for artifact decks. Yeah, that's literally just it. It's a very good card for those decks. You're going to be making a lot of constructs that get bigger and bigger and bigger based on all the artifacts you have, and you get instant value right away out of it with the Scry 2. It's like not all that great right away, but once you get going with it, it builds up quickly. Moving on, Iron Man again, same for Wolverine, same for Captain America and Storm, 4/4 human hero, 5 mana in Is It Flying Haste. Whenever it attacks, create a treasure token. Then you may sacrifice a non-creature artifact. If you do, search life for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1+ the sacrifice artifact's mana value. Put on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. This is a deadly commander that essentially with one swing could probably just win the game, so please keep that in mind. Moving on. Evereth Viceroy of Plunder again. Jumpstart cards, expensive. $25 for this one. 2/2 Vampire Soldier with flying for 3 mana in black. Sacrifice other artifact or creature. Put a counter on Evereth. The sacrifice purpose a treasure, lifelink until end of turn. Cool. Activate sorcery. When Evereth dies, you may pay 1 in Rakdos. When you do, deals damage equal to power to each opponent. Kind of like a build your own, exploding commander, I guess. That just like, you fling at everyone. So yeah, you basically just get a bunch of things out. You sacrifice them. You get a bunch of counters on this. Again, sorcery speed. And then all of a sudden, you just damage each opponent for a lot. There you go. Moving on, Undercity Sewers. This is a $25 card. My goodness, really, Wizard? Wow. All right, yeah, I guess these got quite popular quite quickly. Reprint them. Okay. Enters the battlefield tapped, enters the battlefield, surveil 1. It's also, by the way, an island and a swamp. So, yeah, there's some reasons why, because you can actually, tutor for these with a lot of things. And also, again, that surveil is quite nice. Better than these Scrylands, because typically you'd rather have things in your graveyard than the bottom of your library, unless you're like a Grenzo deck. There you go. Okay, moving on. Sire of 7 Deaths. $24 for this one. A 7/7 Eldrazi for 7 mana with, wait for it, here we go. First strike, vigilance, menace, trample, reach, lifelink, ward, pay 7 life. 7 things, 7 keywords, the pay 7 life. Again, another 7 in there. All the 7 things. Eldrazi is a very, very, very popular tribe. Eldrazi fans love Eldrazi, especially like, big, crazy Eldrazi like this one that opponents have to like really pay attention to. Like, wait, what does that have? I can't remember. Does that have flying? No, it doesn't have flying. Keep it in mind. Keep in mind what it has. Just keep remembering. What it's super easy. First strike, vigilance, menace, trample, reach, lifelink, ward. Pay 7 life. Anyways, also on top of Eldrazi decks, yeah, I mean, it's a big threat for just like general decks or, decks that love all the keywords, those decks as well. Moving on, Trouble in Pairs, $24. My goodness, for this one. Enchantment for 4 mana in white. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player would skip the next turn instead. Whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card each turn or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card. Here's the thing. You're playing Commander, and yeah, that happens a lot in Commander. Like a lot. Like a lot. Like players attacking with 2 or more creatures, sure, that'll happen. Drawing second card each turn, yeah, that definitely happens all the time. Casting second spell, most definitely as well. You're going to be drawing a ton of cards with this. Yeah, mono white getting card advantage with this kind of a card, $24 because card advantage is so rare in mono white. Moving on, Abhorrent Oculus, a 5/5 it's creepy. For 3 mana in blue, it just costs cast this spell, exile 6 cards from your graveyard, flying at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Manifest Dread. $21 for this card right now. And apparently this is the cheapest version of it. Just a giant eye with a flashlight being shown in, and it's like, you're blinding me, please stop. Yeah, I mean, if you can get it out early, which again, getting things in your graveyard, super easy for the most part. All of a sudden, you're like, hey, I got a 5/5 flyer. that also, again, on every opponent's upkeep, that's three times the trooper on the table in Commander. That is, a 2/2 into play, face down, as one of my top 2 cards, and the other card of the top 2 in my graveyard. So it's like card selection and also creature creation as well, and you can do some weird things with, flipping those creatures too. Okay, moving on. Shrufus Sproutsire, a 1/1 sapling with trample for 3 mana in green. Whenever a sapling you control deals combat to a player, create that many 1/1 green sapling creature tokens. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. Yeah, because again, this counts not only like it hitting, and again, the total amount of damage, but also those saplings. So here's the thing. You hit with it for a lot. Like, you pump it a good amount. Cool, I hit you for like 10. All right, I made 10 saplings. Next time, if I get through with my 10 damage commander, plus my 10 more saplings, that's 20 more that I make. But by the way, if I have, like, say, like an Anthem in play, like just simply Gaia's Anthem, +1/+1 to each creature I control, and now those saplings hit for 2, basically they are quadrupling everything every time when you're just swinging again. Crazy things can happen. Quadrupling, tripling, a lot. Okay, anyways, lots of math to be had, but lots of saplings, sapling explosion, fun times. Moving on, Tycho the Patient Avalanche, Ninja Turtles. $20 for 5 Turtle Ninja. Enters the battlefield tapped for 4 mana in blue. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it didn't die, scry 1, put a counter on it. Whenever Tycho attacks, you may pay Demir. When you do, target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. Someone explain to me why this one's expensive in the comments below, please, other than just being a Ninja Turtle from Jumpstart. Okay, Screaming Nemesis. Okay, I'm not going to do it. 3/3 Spirit with haste for 3 mana in red. Whenever it's dealt, damage deals that much damage to any other target. If a player is dealt damage this way, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. This is like New Age Boros Reckoner in a way, like super wrecking things. When I was playing Magic, when I first got right back into Magic, Boros Reckoner was definitely a thing. And it was like, oh my goodness, that's cool. Like, oh yeah, 3/3 that, I think it's got first strike as well. You can give it first strike, and then also like deals damage when it's dealt damage. Cool. This one's like, hey, let's take it a step further. First of all, you're never going to block this, and you're never going to swing into me when I have this, because if you need to gain life, you're not going to be able to do that, because I'm just going to put that damage at your face. Also, there's infinite combos with it as well, like, it's kind of like Boros Reckoner. Like, if you give it indestructible, if you give it lifelink, you gain infinite life when this is dealt damage. Congratulations, because it can just, oh, actually, never mind. It needs something else, because it's the other target. But don't worry about that. It's still gross and disgusting, okay? Moving on. Rhea Riptide Rogue. Here we go. A 3/3 Auto Rogue for 4 mana, and is it Prowess? Other creature control Prowess. When you cast a non-creature spell, target creature control can't be blocked this turn. $19 for this Mythic from Bloomburrow. Yeah, I mean, it's a very exciting commander. You're just like, okay, yeah, I'll spell sling here, there, and everywhere, and all of a sudden, all my prowess creatures just deal a lot of damage. Nice, and some of them are unblockable. Next up, 3 Tree City, Legendary Land enters, choose a creature type, tap for a single colorless mana, or pay 2 and tap, choose a color, add amount of mana of that color equal to the number of creatures you control the chosen type. $19 for this. Okay, so this is like a combination of Nykthos and like Gaia's Cradle, kind of. Like, this is like kind of like the mix of those two. Do you have a tribal deck that likes to go wide? Yeah? Okay, you probably want this one, because all of a sudden you're like, yeah, okay, I got like 15 elves in play. Oh, cool, my little land that just taps for 1 mana. Instead, I'm going to pay 2 mana, tap this, so oh darn, I'm down 3 mana, but I just gained 15. Wow. So yeah, it is basically like Nykthos / Gaia's Cradle in a way, and it is very, very, very good for tribal decks, which of course are very popular, making this very expensive. Moving on. Sword of Wealth and Power. $18 for this one. It's an equipment for 3, equip 2, +2/+2, obstruction from instant sorceries. Whatever creature deals combination to a player, create a treasure token. When you next cast an instant spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose to target to the copy. I mean, there are certain commander decks out there that just want like all the swords in them. Like every single sword you can find. Cool. Lots of fun. Chuck them in there. We're getting another one. It's going to get expensive. This is also pretty powerful as well. Like, hey, dealing combat damage, getting treasures. Lovely. Copying up in sorceries. Even lovelier. You can do a lot of cool things with this. Moving on. Twin Flame Tyrant. Oh my goodness. $18 for this one. 3/5 dragon with flying for 5 mana in red. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent, or a permanent opponent controls deals double that damage instead. Doubling up damage is incredibly powerful, and again, doing it in a way that's just your opponent's, that is pretty crazy. So yeah, double up all of the damage dealt to any opponent from anywhere, not just this, not just you, not just your things, but your opponent's things as well. yeah, that is pretty deadly. On top of that, it's a very, very, very relevant creature type. Dragon is one of the most popular tribes out there, so it is a slam dunk in those kinds of decks as well. Moving on, Overlord of the Huntwoods, a really cool effect with this one. 6/5 Avatar for 5 mana in green, Impending 4 for 3 mana though. So basically, you can cast it, and it's essentially just an enchantment, not a creature, okay? Until the last counter comes off it. Whenever it enters or attacks, create a tap colorless land token named everywhere that is every basic land type. Yeah, that's quite powerful and quite good. On top of it just being a 6/5 for 5 mana, or basically like 3 mana, but wait a couple turns. So yeah, you can just keep ramping again and again and again with this. Next up, Tamiyo Inquisitive Student. Lots of questions from Tamiyo. $18 though is the answer for the price. 0/3 Moonfolk Wizard. Flying for a single blue mana. When it attacks, investigate. When you draw your third card in a turn, exile the return to the battlefield. Transformed under the owner's control. Flips over into Tamiyo Seasoned Scholar. Does a lot of planeswalkery things. I'm not going to read all of them because that's going to be a long time to read all of them. And now I'm talking too much. Basically, lots of fun. Draw half your deck. Okay, there you go. That's what you're trying to get to with this one. So when it comes to like planeswalker decks, especially ones that really like the flip walkers, yeah, those have a place in a good amount of decks out there that really want those, and they're going to get expensive. Moving on. Delny Streetwise Lookout. Speaking of expensive, anytime you see something that's like, hey, trigger double, it's gonna be expensive. Even if it's specific like this one. $18 for Delny. 2/2 Human Scout for 3 mana in white. Creature control with power 2 or less can be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. That's nice, but the important thing here is an ability of a creature controlled with power 2 or less triggers. That ability triggers additional time. Here's the thing. Do you have a commander that has a triggered ability? Yes, I do. Okay, cool. Yeah, why? Hey, do you want to double that up? Yes. Does your commander have power 2 or less? No. Okay, well then don't worry about it. But if it does, then yes, worry about it, because this is like, oh yeah, kind of like chuck it in the deck, kind of like Roaming Throne or Wandering Throne or whatever that one's called. Doubling up your commander's abilities are huge, and if you just have like a low-to-the-ground creature deck as well, obviously that has some ETBs, definitely consider this too. And of course, it is a commander itself. Next up. Ugin's Labyrinth. You can imprint it when it enters the battlefield. Exile a colorless card with mana value 7 or greater from your hand. Taps for a colorless, or if the card is exiled with it, you add 2 colors instead. Tap to return the exiled card to its owner's hand. It's a very interesting card. It works really well, especially in colorless decks where it's like, oh yeah, just happen to have, you know, a giant card in my hand. Awesome. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, just starting things off with a 2 mana land instead of a 1 mana land without any no downside like Ancient Tomb with that. And also like you can turn the card back when you need it as well. Meticulous Archive. Again, we already talked about the Surveil land earlier. So yeah, all these are expensive, but the Devere land is the most expensive. Apparently the Azorius land is second most expensive. There you go. Excalibur, Sword of Eden. This one's an equipment for 12 mana in total. Costs X less cast over X the total mana value of historic permanent you control, plus 10/10 vigilance, equipped legend creature 2. Yeah, there are just certain decks out there like, give me all the giant equipment and I shall equip them onto my Voltron commander and they shall smack you. Yeah, equipment decks love giant equipment that can do some crazy things. So yeah, you're gonna have some fun with it. $16.37. Also, you know, in historic decks, in legendary tribal decks, this can be cast for probably free. So there you go. Moving on, Underground Mortuary, again, for that same reason, Surveil land. You know what I'm talking about. Moving on, Alchemist Talent. Here we go. This is a class for 4 mana in red. Enters, create 2 tap treasure tokens. The second level is treasure control, have tap, sacrifice artifact, add 2 mana of 1 color. And basically, if we just stop there, it would still probably be this expensive, $16.15. That being said, there is a third level if you need it. Whenever you cast a spell, mana from a treasure was spent to cast it. This class deals damage equal to the spell's mana value to each opponent. This is a disgustingly gross card. This is first, okay, like temporary ramp, temporary mana advantage with those treasures it makes you. Nice. It wouldn't really see all that much play if it was just that, though. That being said, of course, making it so your treasures just can actually tap for 2 now instead of 1 is gross. And of course, now all of a sudden, now your spells just deal damage. This can be a win condition for you. Is even grosser. So yeah, treasure decks, which there are a lot of them out there, a very popular theme these days. That's why it's so expensive. Next up, Innkeeper's Talent, yet another great class. For $15.87, 2 mana in green. At the beginning of combat, you return put a counter to our creature control. The second one is just 1 more mana, a single green, level 2. Permanent you control with counters on them have ward 1. Mean, gross, rude. Level 3, 4 mana in green. If you would put one of our counters at a permanent player, put twice that many of those kinds of a permanent player instead. This is build your own, not doubling season, really, but like, whatever the one is that, like, just doubles up the counters, okay? All right, anyways. Basically, that half of doubling season, okay? On top of that, giving you, like, free counters on things and also protecting your things as well. Yeah, there's a reason why this sees so much play because, yeah, it's a very popular theme. Next up, Black Panther for the exact same reasons of the previous ones that I talked about. This is the last, I believe, of all these secret lair cards I'm going to be talking about. This one, a 2/2 human noble hero, first strike for 2 mana in Selesnya. Whenever another creature you control enters, put a counter on target land you control. By paying 3, move all counters from target land you control on target creature. One or more counters are moved this way, you gain it much life and draw a card. Yep, some counters, land shenanigans, fun times. Okay, moving on. Nethergoyf. Yeah, this one is $14. The most expensive Goyf of the year, unless I made a mistake earlier. Anyways, star, 1+ star. Lurgoyf for a single black mana. Powers equal to the number of card types from cards in graveyard. It's tough to steal that +1. You can also escape it by exiling any number of cards from your graveyard with 4 more card types from among them. Yeah, this is a card that can be quite beefy quite early. And also, of course, if you're doing Lurgoyf Tribal, yeah, it's a very good card for that as well. Poliwag Prodigy, a 1/3 frog wizard for 2 mana in blue. Evolve. Whenever opponent casts a non-creature spell with mana value less than its power, draw a card. This is $14 for a reason. This is kind of like, yeah, Esper Sentinel-ish? Kind of, like in a different way. It's like not a taxing effect, but it's like if you're casting small things at first, cool. But like, this is just going to grow throughout the game. You have that evolve, getting more and more counters on it. And also, of course, you have other ways to pump it, other ways to get, you know, more counters on it, whatever you're doing. Yeah, you can get this power up to the point where it's like, yeah, whatever non-creature spell you cast, I'm going to be drawing cards. So it is definitely a card that's relevant with that. And a great card draw engine. On top of that, Frog might not be all that, you know, relevant to try for the most part. Sorry, Frogs. But Wizard most definitely is. So keep that in mind. Next up, Nuka-Cola Vending Machine. Apparently, this uncommon from Fallout is super expensive. Artifact for 3, 1 tap, create a food token. Whenever you sacrifice a food, create a tapped treasure token. Yeah, there's a reason why that's expensive, because all of a sudden you're turning your foods into treasures. That is a lot of value to be had. Players love treasures. Moving on, third, Mare of Destiny. Again from Jumpstart. 2/4 Pegasus for 4 mana and white. Flying, lifelink. Whenever you cast a Pegasus, Unicorn, or Horse spell, copy it. Other Pegasi, Unicorns, or Horsies get ++1 that you control. So yeah, this is basically like, hey, have you always wanted to do a Horsey deck? And Horsies with wings and a Horsey with horns? Yes, cool. All right, use this then, and all of a sudden you double up all those things, and they also get pumped. So have fun with that. Next up, Yagara, Eater of All, a $13 disgusting commander. 6/6 elemental cat for 5 mana in Golgari. Ward, sacrifice a food. Other creatures are food artifacts in addition to their other types, and have pay 2 tap, sacrifice is permanent, you gain 3 life. Whenever a food is put in a graveyard from the battlefield, put 2 counters on Yagara, Eater of All. Yeah, this is basically like, hey, how can I use and abuse my opponent's things being artifacts? Because, yeah, there's a lot of ways to doing that. I mean, your things are artifacts too, but all of a sudden now any kind of like mass artifact wipe spell just wipes out your opponent's creatures too as well. I mean, your other creatures as well, but it's like a Voltron kind of like, not Voltron, but like one-sided. Anyways, and when you do that, you also just turn this into a one-shot KO and your opponents have no blockers. So that's all that matters, essentially. And yeah, there's a lot of fun, weird things you can do when your opponent's things are artifacts. Like maybe saying, hey, artifacts don't do anything. There's certain cards that do that. So have fun. Gross. Disgusting. Yeah. All right, next up. Valgawa Terror Eater, a 9/9 Elder Demon, the big bad from Duskmourn, 9 mana in black. Flying lifelink, ward, sacrifice 3 9/9 permanents of a card you didn't control would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile instead. During your turn, you may play cards exile with Valgavoth. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal its mana value mana value rather than pay its mana cost. There you go. So basically, you're just casting things for free for life, and you have this giant 9/9 flying lifelink card that says, you know what? Let's just take our opponent's cards and steal them. Yay! So yeah, as a commander, pretty gross. Sure, demon decks too. Moving on, an uncommon from Jumpstart. General Creethy Boltbringer, a 2/2 Goblin Soldier for 3 mana. $13 for this uncommon. Whenever one or more goblins you control attack, create a 1/1 goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. Whenever creature you control enters, 1 damage each opponent. I guess I shouldn't be all that surprised that this is expensive. Again, I don't know about the print run details for Jumpstart, but they're all pretty expensive, it seems like. But yeah, this one is for an incredibly relevant tribe. Goblins have a ton of support. This is another great support card for them. It's basically a goblin that makes more goblins and also isn't impact tremors for you. So yeah, it's expensive. Elegant Parlor, again, exact same thing for the other lands I talked about that have Surveil. Next up, Caretaker's Talent. Again, another cool, really cool class. And actually, Alec pointed out something pretty cool about this one. I'll talk about here in a little bit. But $12.10. This one costs 3 mana. Whenever one of our tokens you control enter, draw a card. So it triggers only once each turn. pay single white mana. When the class comes level 2, create tokens copy of target token you control. Level 3, creature tokens you control get +2/+2. So here's the thing with this one that gets pretty disgusting and gross, and this is not like the normal application of it, but Alec has some really cool ideas when it comes to Commander. If you've got a way to, say, copy this, make a token copy of it, with that one, like, demonstrate card, I can't remember what the name of it is, but yeah, if you can, like, copy this and make a token copy, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, cool, I can pay a white mana, make a copy of that, pay another white mana, make another copy, pay another white mana, make another copy, because you can just keep utilizing the new level 2s to do that again and again and again and again and again, all while drawing an absurd amount of cards, and probably, well, winning the game or losing the game if you make a mistake. So there you go. So it's a very, very cool card, and yeah, just in general, token strategies, that's why it's expensive. It's very, very good. Talon Gates Amadara, a gate. Gates themselves decently expensive when it comes to like utilizing some really good ones because, well, yeah, there's certain like gate strategies out there, and they want every single gate. Enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature phases out, tap for a single colorless mana, pay 1, tap, add 1 of any color, and pay 4, put it from your hand directly on the battlefield. This is one of the very few lands that can do that, if not the only land. It's one of the very few lands that's like, hey, cheat this into play. But yeah, this is basically like a ramp spell in a way, like a really weird ramp spell where you're like, okay, I pay 4, and yeah, I don't have to use this as my land drop. I'm just like, okay, get it in play, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, also you can utilize it like as a defensive spell. Like, okay, oh, you're trying to take out my commander or whatnot. All right, I'll phase it out. Cool, got it. Because it's kind of like an instant in a way to do that. Or like, oh, that opponent's attacking me with this giant creature. I'll phase it out. It's not actually swinging at me. So yeah, it's a really cool card. And again, for gate stacks, yeah, that's why it's expensive. A Gate Instigator, $11.93. Yeah, the prices this year are pretty crazy with how many cards. I mean, I don't think we had this many last year that were anywhere near like this expensive, like in general. We had like all like the ones to keep track of. Like, oh my goodness. All right, 1/3 Lizard Rogue for 2 mana in red. Offspring for the exact same. I said 2 in red, 1 in red. 1 in red, exactly as well there. Whenever the creature you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. We already talked about Impact Tremors and why it's a very good card in Commander. For certain strategies, this is like, hey, do you like Impact Tremors, but also do you like Perforos? Because this is kind of like another Perforos in a way. Like, it's not Perforos, but it kind of is. Because basically, this is like double Impact Tremors. You get 2 of these in play, and all of a sudden, hey, 2 damage to each opponent anytime any other creature enters the battlefield. Yeah, quite gross, quite good. And of course, with it, making a token copy of itself, again, you can utilize like populate type effects as well to take advantage of that too. Moving on, Flage Titan of Fire's Fury, 6/6 Elder Giant for 3 mana in Boros. Enters the battlefield, sacrifice unless it escaped. Enters the battlefield or attacks, deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. Yeah, like Lightning Helix, basically. Escape it for 4 mana in Boros colors. Exile 5 other cards from your graveyard. A very cool card. And yeah, if you love Elder Giants, if you love these types of cards, go for it. Next up, already talked about why the like Planeswalker flips are decently expensive. I'll go through the front side and like just mention the back side because again, there's a lot of text. 1/2 Cat Warrior for 2 mana in white. Enters the battlefield creating with 2/1 cat. And then all of a sudden, whenever one or more cats you control died, no! Johnny gets mad. You may exile a Johnny. They return to the battlefield transformed under his control to a Johnny Nicolo Avenger. I'm mad. Yeah, making people sacrifice things quite rude and mean, and yeah, sacrifice a lot of things, so have fun. Okay, they're gone. Next up, Slick Shot Show Off, a 1/2 bird wizard with flying and haste for 2 mana in red. When you cast a non-creature spell, +2/+0 until end of turn, you can also plot this. This is a hasty card. It's probably much better in other formats than it is in Commander. It's not like bad in Commander, but like, yeah, it's one that's like, okay, cool. All right, you hit me for a good amount of damage. You cast a bunch of non-creature spells. Awesome! Moving on, Beza, the Sounding Spirit, a 4/5 elemental elk for 4 mana in white. Whenever it enters, create a treasure token. If an opponent controls more lands than you, you gain 4 life. If an opponent has more life than you, create 2 1/1 bluefish creature tokens. If an opponent controls more creatures than you, draw a card. Opponent has more cards in hand than you. Basically, are you at a disadvantage in the game compared to someone else? Cool, you get a benefit! Yay! I mean, and also, if this is your commander and you're in mono white, you're basically guaranteed to keep getting treasures because you're probably going to be down on lands compared to other players. So there you go. But yeah, being able to catch up on life, catch up on creatures, draw up cards, a lot can happen with this one. So it's just good in like a good amount of decks out there as well that want different kinds of values that aren't expecting to be ahead of a lot of things. Next up, 3 steps ahead. These spree cards are super cool. I love them. $11 for this one. The first spree ability, an extra 1 and a blue counter target spell. 3 extra mana, create tokens, copy target artifact, creature control, 2 extra mana, draw 2 cards, discard a card. A lot of value, a lot of flexibility to add with this one. Fomori Vault, another very cool land. $11.34 for this one. Tap for a colorless, pay 3, tap, discard a card. Top X card your library, X the number of artifacts you control. One of those cards in your hand, the rest of my library in random order. This is very good for an artifact deck. My goodness, a lot of value to be had with that. And yeah, I mean, again, it is a card that just a lot of value out of a land, not really taking up a spot in your deck. And it is, again, from that big score, or whatever the, kind of like adjustment set, or whatever they call it, like the additional set that was then just put into Outlaws Thunder Junction. So that's probably why it's so expensive as well. Lumra, Bellow of the Woods, a star elemental bear. Rar. Vigilance and Reach for 6 mana in green. Power toughs each with a number of lands you control. Enters mill 4 cards. Return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Okay, so this one's like, hey, you know what's really good? Bears. Well, actually, lands. Yeah, being able to just get a ton of lands into play, super easy to do, and also a very protected resource in Commander. And yeah, do you have a mill deck? Cool. Use it, because you just get all your lands from your graveyard into play. You have a deck that sacrifices a bunch of lands, like, fetch lands, cool, do that as well. It's also a giant threat, just a giant threat for you on top of ramping you a ton. And of course, as a commander, yeah, it's quite cool too, $11. Hedge Maze, again, already talked about these surveil lands, why they're expensive. Codsworth Handy Helper, a 2/3 legendary artifact creature robot for 3 mana in white. Tap, add 2 white mana, only to cast or equipment spells. Tap, attach target or equipment you control, target creature you control, activate a sorcery. There's only so many effects that actually do that, so many creatures that do that, when it comes to like, hey, all right, I'll move this aura from something else to something else, or more likely equipment as well. So like, okay, cool, attach it. Awesome. Yay. Fun. Yay. But also, yeah, as a commander, cool. It's a little ramp commander that can help you out. Moving on, Borrow Goyf. Again, Goyfs. Yeah, if you're going for Goyf Tribal, you kind of need all of them because there's only so many of them, so they do get expensive. Again, the whole Goyf thing, the graveyard +1, yeah, you know where that is. Death Touch Lifelink for 3 mana. Deals combat to your player. You mill that many cards. If you do, you may put a creature card from among them in your hand. Lots of value to be had there. Kaido Bane of Nightmares. 4 starting loyalty for Kaido. 4 mana in Dimir. Ninjutsu for 3 mana in total. During your turn, as long as Kaido has 1 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 3/4 ninja with hexproof, and then a lot of other abilities. Again, there's a lot of reading here, but basically with this one, again, like the very first planeswalker that has ninjutsu, so cheating to play for cheaper. Next up, Maha Its Feathers Knight, 6/5 elemental bird that is disgusting for 5 mana in black. Flying trample, ward, discard a card. Creature opponents control base power, toughness. Sorry, not base power. That doesn't really matter though. Toughness 1. That's the one that matters because this $10 commander or card in the 99 is gross. Basically, anything will take out your opponent's creatures when this is in play as your card. You're like, okay, cool, yeah. A slight breeze rolls in and it takes out your opponent's creatures. But more likely, if you're the Maha player, you've got an abundant amount of ways to give your opponent's creatures -1/-1 perpetually. So therefore, they have no creatures in play ever again. Have fun. Goldvein Hydra is next. I kind of forgot this card was out this year. My goodness. $9 for this one. 0/0 Hydra for X and a green. Vigilance Trample Haste. Enters with X counters on it. When it dies, create a number of tap treasure tokens equal to its power. When I was a kid, I remember being very excited about Ivy Elemental. And, yeah, the things have changed in Magic a little bit. Ivy Elemental, I believe, was just like the exact same thing, but just with the counters on it. Just that part. And that was a rare. And actually, I'm pretty sure that was like the rare that was in like the little like Magic pack, the box that I got that was like the deck. Like, cool. Awesome. Yay. And these days it's like, oh no, we need to stamp on Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. Okay, cool. All right. But also, yeah, you need that mana back, right? Yeah, okay, cool. All right. When it dies, you get the mana back, basically equal to its power. Have fun. Gross. Hydra decks, X spell decks, big creature decks, treasure decks. They can definitely utilize this one. That's why it's expensive. Shadowy Backstreet. Again, surveil lands, expensive. Generous Pup. 2/2 dog for 2 mana in white. Vigilance. Whenever one or more counters are put on Generous Pup, put a counter on each other creature you control. Triggers only once each turn. Dog tribal decks, absolutely. Counters decks, absolutely even more. Yeah, it's a very good card to get extra counters on your things. Arena of Glory. Enters the battlefield, tap unless you control a mountain. Tap for a single red mana. You may exert it to add red. And then it's connected to cast creature spell, gives it haste. There's only so many ways to give creatures haste off of lands. And yeah, those tend to get pretty expensive because it's a very powerful thing to do. Again, not really taking up a spot in your deck. Typically will come into play untapped, again, if you've got like a 1 or 2 color deck. So there you go. I mean, almost always if it's a 1 color deck, but still, being able to give things haste, that's very, very good. Thundering Falls. Again, surveil lands, why it's expensive. Already talked about that. Overlord of the Veilmerk. a 5/5 avatar for 5 mana in black. Again, the impending thing for 2 mana. And then when it enters or attacks, mill 4 cards. You may turn a non-avatar creature card or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. Unless you're playing Avatar Tribal, you're probably okay to get whatever, whatever creature from your graveyard back to your hand from there. Molten Duplication. Yeah, these are always going to be expensive and popular, especially ones apparently from Big Score or whatever that, set thing is. Sorcery for 2 mana and red. Create tokens, copy target artifact creature control, except it's an artifact to other types. Gains haste, sacrifice for your next end step. Basically, this Twin Flame, those types of things, it's like, okay, cool, make an extra copy of something that is very, very, very powerful, especially in a format like Commander, where you want to maybe use and abuse ETBs, maybe LTBs as well, maybe those that are from your Commander even, where you're like, okay, cool, make a copy of it. I get the ETB again, yay! Or I get the LTB again, yay! Fun, fun, fun. Moving on. Surveil Land. You know why it's expensive. Next up, Gloom Lake Verge. Not a Surveil Land. Tasseray Blue or Tasseray Black, but only if you control an island or a swamp. Very, very good. $9 for this land that usually will tap for 2 mana. Amzu Swarm's Hunger from the Clue, product thing? I don't know. There's so many products this year. But yeah, this one, I'm not sure what the exact, print numbers are on that one, but I'm assuming why this is expensive is because it's from the Clue thing. 3/3 Insect Shaman, Flying, and Menace. Other insects control of Menace, 5 mana, and Golgari. Whenever one or more lands leave your graveyard, create a 1/1 black and green insect creature token, then put a number of counters on equal to the greatest mana value among those cards. Do this only once each turn. Yeah, insects, go wide. Have fun. Next up. Metamorphosis Fanatic, a 4/4 lifelinking human cleric for 6 mana in black. When enters, return to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, a lifelink counter on it. Miracle cost for 2. Miracle is something you don't typically see. Wizards doesn't really bring that back all that often, and when it does, yeah, it's gonna get some attention, especially on a combo-centric card that's like, hey, you know what? Bring back a creature when I come into play. Is there a cast trigger requirement? Nope. Nope. Just like Karmic Guide, basically. Yeah, but also I give you a lifelink counter. So yeah, there is definitely some crazy combos, some crazy value you can get from this one. Finally, Herska Sweet Tooth. We are stopping right here. $8.46 for this lovely bear. 3/3 bear for 3 mana in green. Attacks, create a food token. Whenever you gain life, you may pay a Selesnya mana. When you do, target creature gets +X/+X to X amount of life you gained. Yeah, that's a really cool commander. I really love the design of this commander, and also it's an adorable bear. Basically, utilize a bunch of cool ways to gain a bunch of life, out of nowhere, and then be like, okay, I pumped this for a ton. Yeah, life doubling effects can be quite fun with it too. Okay, I lied. There's one more, actually. I missed this one. Here we go. Viewless the Infestation. Do not let this survive ever. This is a gross, disgusting, powerful commander. $8.44 as well. 2/2 Vampire Insect, because that's a thing. A vampire just bit it and was like, ha ha, now you will turn into a vampire, ha ha ha. Weird. Alright, Flying Death Touch for 4 mana in black. Whenever a player sacrifices a non-token creature, create a 1/1 black insect creature with flying. Whenever an insect, leech, slug, or worm you control attacks, defending player loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. This is gross. This is incredibly gross. This is a disgusting commander. This is a commander where it's going to be impossible for your opponents to ever stop you once you get things set up with it, which won't take long at all. Literally just any edict effect. You're like, okay, everyone sacrifices 1 creature. Oh darn, I'm down 1 insect. Okay, my opponents each sacrifice a creature. Okay, cool. I'm up 3 insects now. Yay! And then also if you have Dictative Erebos or any of those sacrifice effects in play where it's whenever your creature dies, your opponent's creatures die. Yeah, it's gross. You're just going to control the board and kind of like Maha, your opponents will never get anything into play ever. So it's gross and you win the game. You can also attack and make them lose life and gain life and drain them. And yeah, there's a lot of expensive, very gross, very amazing cards from this year. And if you want to pick up any of them, there's a link to them in the description below, so make sure you keep that in mind. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.